Ever noticed how the person who talks the most in a heated room usually holds the least amount of actual power? When an argument gets heated, your brain desperately screams at you to keep talking, defending, and over-explaining your position. You feel an overwhelming urge to fill the dead air, believing that words will somehow solidify your control over the situation. But what if the ultimate display of dominance requires absolutely zero words to completely break your opponent's psychological stance? Today, we reveal why the moment you rush to break the silence, you are subconsciously broadcasting your lower social status. Let us examine the invisible force known as social pain, which hijacks your nervous system during any unexpected pause. When a conversation suddenly stops, your primitive brain instantly processes the silence as a literal threat of tribal abandonment. This biological glitch triggers the exact same neurological pain centers as a physical injury, flooding your body with pure anxiety. To escape this crushing psychological weight, the average person defaults to the rambling trap, vomiting words just to feel safe. You start negotiating against yourself, dropping your prices or sacrificing your personal boundaries simply to ease that agonizing tension. Imagine sitting in a performance review where your boss responds to your salary request with a heavy, unblinking stare. Instead of holding your ground, your heart races and you immediately start offering discounts on your own absolute value. You might say something like, "I understand the budget is tight, so I am incredibly flexible on the final numbers." In that exact microsecond, you have handed the remote control of your emotions directly to the other person across the table. You are no longer negotiating a fair deal. You are begging for social validation to make the awkwardness disappear. The master negotiator knows this instinctual weakness and weaponizes intentional pauses to trap you inside your own mental prison. They let the silence stretch, forcing your prefrontal cortex to panic, overcompensate, and reveal every single one of your hidden insecurities. Every extra word you speak acts as a literal shovel, digging you deeper into a position of absolute psychological submission. You apologize unnecessarily, backtrack on your core demands, and completely shatter the illusion of your own professional competence. Meanwhile, the person maintaining the silence absorbs all the authority in the room without expending a single drop of energy. They understand that whoever holds their tongue the longest automatically dictates the ultimate terms of the entire social dynamic. By refusing to rescue you from the discomfort, they establish an invisible hierarchy where you are clearly the subordinate. This is not just a clever communication tactic. It is a ruthless exploitation of fundamental human neurobiology and survival instincts. If you want to stop losing these daily battles, you must learn to embrace the exact thing that terrifies you. If you are tired of losing arguments and want to master the hidden mechanics of human behavior, you are in the right place. Hit subscribe to join the top 1% who understand the science of control, and let us decode the ultimate power move. To truly dominate any high-stakes room, we must first understand the prefrontal override, a biological glitch affecting human working memory. When an aggressive opponent throws out a ridiculous demand, their brain expects an immediate emotional counterattack to keep the rhythm going. But when you hit them with sudden, dead silence, their brain's predictive processing engine completely derails and violently crashes into a wall. Their prefrontal cortex is suddenly forced to process the heavy, unexpected void, overloading their cognitive capacity within just a few seconds. This massive cognitive overload essentially freezes their logical reasoning circuits, creating an incredibly uncomfortable neurological vacuum that demands immediate and urgent resolution. To relieve this intense internal psychological pressure, their own brain will subconsciously command them to start negotiating aggressively against themselves. This brings us to the fascinating concept of reversing the pressure, where silence acts as a massive, unavoidable psychological mirror. Without your defensive words to distract them, the aggressive party is forced to stare directly at their own absurd and ridiculous demands. They will instantly feel the heavy burden of proof shift entirely back onto their shoulders, completely crushing their initial false confidence. Notice how they quickly begin to backtrack, add unnecessary context, or water down their original threat just to break the suffocating silence. They desperately toss out concessions like sinking sailors throwing cargo overboard, hoping you will finally give them a comforting, validating nod. You have successfully turned their own aggressive momentum into a devastating weapon against them, all without moving a single physical muscle. So, how can you practically apply this weaponized stillness in your chaotic daily life starting tomorrow morning at exactly 9 a.m.? Welcome to our first actionable technique, a devastatingly effective psychological behavioral tool officially known as the 3-second vacuum. The next time someone makes an aggressive demand or asks a hostile question, do not answer them immediately, under any circumstances. Instead, lock your eyes firmly and maintain absolute, unflinching silence for exactly 3 seconds to create a suffocating emotional void. This intentional 3-second vacuum abruptly forces their brain into a sudden panic mode, triggering deep-seated social anxiety and profound self-doubt. You will often watch them physically cringe and quickly retract or soften their own aggressive statement before you even speak. Once you have completely shattered their offensive rhythm, it is time to deploy our final behavioral weapon, the low-pitch anchor. When you finally decide to break that 3-second silence, intentionally drop your voice exactly 1 octave lower than your normal tone. Speak incredibly slowly and deliberately, completely stripping away any trace of nervous, high-pitched energy from your vulnerable vocal cords. This physical acoustic anchor instantly establishes you as the absolute highest status individual in the room, commanding deep and undeniable instinctual respect. It completely neutralizes their remaining aggression, signaling to their primitive brain that you are completely unfazed by their pathetic attack. Master the 3-second vacuum and the low-pitch anchor, and you will forever dictate the invisible power dynamics of human interaction.